In 2007, the president of Russia gave a speech in Munich in which he stated that the fall of the Soviet Union was the worst geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century, and he was going to dedicate his entire life to changing that. So in 2009, he invited the leaders of China, India, and Brazil to Russia and pitched them the idea of creating the new world order that isn't controlled by the United States and its allies, a world order where China and Russia and other countries will have a say in it. So they shook their hands and created BRICS, a trade organization focused on getting rid of the US dollar and establishing an alternative global financial system. BRICS countries already make up almost 30% of the global economy and 50% of the global population. They control 43% of the global oil supply, and according to Goldman Sachs, that gap is going to drastically increase over the next few years. So let's try to answer a few questions. What exactly are these countries trying to achieve? How will the new world order that BRICS countries are creating will look like? And how will that impact you and the global economy? In 1945, the United States economy represented half of the global GDP, 80% of the global's wealth, and held almost all of the world's gold. To restore global trade and recover from World War II, the most powerful people met in the United States and signed a treaty. This treaty pegged other countries to the dollar, and the dollar was pegged to gold, since the US held 80% of the global gold reserves. Then the United States also struck a deal with Middle Eastern countries, where the United States would protect these countries and help them grow economically, but in exchange they would sell their oil only for US dollar, which was later called as the petrodollar. So even when the United States unpegged the dollar from gold, the world still used the dollar, since any modern economy needed oil to grow. Everyone benefited from this system by accessing the US market, using US financial system, and gained access to US technology. But on the other side, it gave the United States enormous power. The rules of the game mainly benefited the United States. The world didn't have a choice but to accept that. However, a lot has changed since then. Countries such as Russia and China or India have not just recovered from World War II, but have overtaken the United States in many industries and are no longer willing to obey Washington's orders. If a president of a country, for example, decides that some of his neighboring territories have been taken unfairly, he can take them back using military force. But that will come at the cost of the United States kicking you out of the global economy, which is why before starting a war or taking over a neighboring country, you should always get US approval. That's something that other major countries don't want, which is why they are creating an alternative global order where the US influence is limited. As BRICS countries expand, trade between them will grow, and BRICS countries are not allowed to use the US dollar. More than 40 countries have already applied to join, and as the organization grows, fewer countries will use the dollar. That's bad news for the United States because the current world order allows the United States to print money more than any other country, since most of these dollars will be exported to other countries anyways. But with fewer countries using the dollar, the US will lose that advantage, and it will no longer be able to solve its problems by printing money. However, that's just part of the problem. Without this advantage, the United States will not be able to maintain such a huge military budget, which is almost $900 billion. The US spends on the military more than the next 10 most powerful countries combined. With less US military presence around the globe, US influence will diminish, making it another regional power such as Russia or China. But the biggest reason why other major powers want to create a new world order is pure economics. If you're a rich person with billions of dollars, where would you want to invest your money? Definitely the United States, because it's the most powerful country on the planet. That's why the US economy grew faster than any other economy since World War II. Whenever there is a crisis or instability, rich people from across the globe bring their money back to the United States. In this new world order, Russia and China will have as much influence as the United States. Rich people will stop viewing the US as the only safe haven, but would also invest in China or Russia, which means that the US economy will not grow as fast as it used to. That's why the United States spends billions of dollars to help Ukraine resist Russia's invasion, or Taiwan to resist China, or Israel to maintain its presence in the Middle East. The video doesn't aim to argue who is right and who is wrong. If you want to share your opinion, feel free to do that in the comments. But whether we like it or not, the New World Order is inevitable. The history of humanity is all about the rise and the fall of empires. Before 1945, Britain was in the position that the US is today. And while we don't know how the New World Order will look like, President Putin made sure to speed it up. By imposing draconian sanctions on Russia in March 2022, when Putin invaded Ukraine, the United States made its intentions clear that it doesn't make any exceptions. But Russia's economy didn't just survive sanctions, it grew faster than many other major economies such as the UK. That sent a message to the rest of the world that the United States is not as powerful as many people imagine, and if the rest of the world join forces, they can change that. SWIFT is the most popular global messaging system for banks, which is controlled by the United States. China, India, and Russia have already created alternative systems that are replacing SWIFT. MasterCard and Visa have long dominated the world, but now every major country has developed an alternative system, and the list goes on and on. The United States is still technologically superior than any other country on the planet, but the gap is much smaller than it was 20 years ago, for example. In fact, China has overtaken the United States in many industries such as electric cars or 5G. BRICS countries have set up the new Development Bank, a bank that will loan money to poor countries to grow their economies, just like IMF or the World Bank. The only difference is that it will be controlled by BRICS and not the United States. But not everything is sunshine and rainbows. BRICS countries have many problems, and experts doubt that they will agree on everything. What currency will they use? The yuan, the ruble, or the Indian rupee? China is the largest BRICS economy, but what are the chances that India will accept China's leadership? Until there is a clear leader, BRICS have very little chance to overtake the United States. However, their share of the global economy is growing every single year, while the US share of the economy is shrinking. That's why even though the United States has isolated Russia from the Western economy, the Russian economy is doing well since India and China are buying Russian energy, while Russia imports cars and tech from Asian countries. China is on the way to diversify its economy from the United States. US companies are leaving China while local businesses are taking over. On the other hand, China is creating new markets for its products such as in Africa or even Europe. That's why even European leaders have openly said that if China decides to take over Taiwan, they won't sanction China, even if the US says so. The world works in such a way that countries fight, and the winners set up the rules. After a few decades of stability and balance of power changes, the countries will fight again to renegotiate the rules of the game based on the new balance of power. Then they live peacefully for another few decades, and so on. Since 2022, we're living in this period where after a few years of instability and wars, the world will agree on a new world order, and peace and prosperity will come back again.